My acoustic bass guitars are so big.
How big?
My acoustic bass guitars are so big that there are no commercially available gig bags or cases that fit them. So a couple of years ago I built this. It's okay, but as I joked at the time, it was almost more trouble than the actual guitar that goes inside it. I built this custom plywood bending form with clamping cutouts. Didn't work with all plywood. Of course, I could always resaw, mill and laminate timber. So I said, why don't I build a case the way everybody else builds cases, with aluminium edges and steel corners? Hey, did I mention my acoustic bass guitars are big? A rectangular case would have to be this long, this wide, and this tall. That's enormous, and more importantly, it's an enormous waste of space around the neck. So what about a trapezoidal case using standard case building techniques? The first problem are these corners. You'll notice that they have three angles, all of which are 90 degrees. They're also made out of steel, which means that they are inclined to stay that way. So we're going to have to persuade them to be a little bit more accommodating. And by persuade, I mean, of course, torture and violence. After a bit of drawing and planning, I've figured that my deviation from square is 9 degrees. So I made a couple of jigs out of whatever I had lying around, landscaping pine. The first of which I call the smusher, with an interior angle of 81 degrees. The second is the spreader, grow up, and it has an angle of 99 degrees. Unfortunately, they didn't really stand up all that well to the amount of violence required. So I fired up the grinder and the welding machine and made myself a couple of, I guess you might say, liners. I didn't film the process. You would have all laughed at me, unless you're a metal worker, in which case you would have suffered lasting psychological damage.
And like a super duper pigeon pooper, welding like a total.
Enough of that. Loyal viewers would have heard it before, and I'll probably wheel it out again sometime. That's the easy part. I've got 4 of them. See how they nestle. Now let's move on to the smushing. Smushing is harder. I've done a couple. It takes longer, more effort, and a couple of additional instruments of torture. Here's what I'm happy about. Spreading is easy, and my awful welding held out. I'm a little bit less happy with the smushing. It's a lot of work. Whacked my thumb a couple of times.
Imminent montage, dum dum.
So we'll go into montage mode for these builds. I made a carcass out of 9mm plywood with beading along the interior edges for strength, and then cut the lid off. Only then did I festoon the two pieces with various bits of case hardware, including the bits that I'd smooshed and spread. I discovered that 4.8mm rivets are really hard to pop with a simple hand squeeze rivet gun. And almost immediately after that I discovered that the lazy tong or accordion style rivet gun, although not so punishing on the hands, is extremely clumsy and clunky. I tried out a system of modular cushions, fully wrapped in velvet and backed with MDF.
Well, it's finished. It looks pretty good on the outside and it holds a bass guitar. But I'm not happy with it, not one little bit. The carcass with beading does not play well with rivets. The MDF-backed modular cushions are far too fiddly to make and very, very messy to install. But most importantly, it is stupid heavy. I thought my previous bent plywood case was heavy at 11 kilos. This is 17 empty. So while this might just scrape by if you are parked right next to your gig, I'm going to have another go. I'm going to try thinner plywood, a different construction method, and a few different ideas for cushions.
For the next build, I switched to 6mm plywood and double-angle joiner aluminium section. This meant I didn't have to use beading. I didn't have much of a process here. I was figuring a lot of things out for the first time. And for cushions, I tried out a simpler, more stripped back approach of naked foam with the velvet just on the bits that touch the guitar.
This second attempt at the trapezoidal design has been a lot more successful. It's a bit more stripped down and basic. It uses thinner ply, and at 13.3 kilos it's still a bit heavy, but a lot better than before, and it's manageable.
Unexpectedly, someone placed an order for one of my cases, so I embarked on doing exactly the same thing again, only with a slightly more mature process. My third attempt at how to pop rivets was a million times better than the previous two, even though the new toy isn't working 100% perfectly, in that it requires 2 cycles to eject the rivet stem or mandrel. I built a few more jigs and templates in an effort to make the process bulletproof, but still managed to find a few ways of messing things up. As you may be able to see, a woodworking bandsaw is quite capable of resawing foam to any desired thickness. And Tensor Bullet Bond web spray is immensely more effective than the spray contact cement products I've used in years gone by.
Well, it's finished. It works. I'm largely happy with it. But I'm not happy with the process. There were a few steps there that were clunky, error-prone, laborious, just plain wrong. So I intend to work through those, iron everything out, and then we'll have a part 2 in which I go into the process in detail.